What is going on, Swoopers? Welcome back to another episode of Squawk with Swoop. In this episode, I wanted to get my best mate on, Justin. I always talk to the opposition sort of supporters and stuff, and rarely do I talk to Collingwood supporters. Me and Justin go back from high school. And look, I really wanted to get his view because he isn't on social media. He's not as deep and entrenched in Collingwood lore as I am in regard to like Twitter, Instagram, and all that jazz. So, Justin, welcome to the channel. First time, long time, I assume.
Oh, mate, it's it has been a long time. I've seen you grow in this channel over many years, and it's good to finally be here.
Thank you for joining me, mate. Thank you for those kind words. Look, I guess we'll start off with your sort of Collingwood journey. Your mum, huge Collingwood supporter. You obviously get it from her, and you know, like all of us, you've been through a lot of tragic heartbreaks with the Pies, but you've seen a lot of the highlights. What do you remember growing up as a Pies supporter?
Yeah, definitely got it from mum. So mum's a Pies fan, and my elder sister is a Pies fan. My dad's Carlton, and my other sister is Carlton. So it was pretty hectic growing up. I've been a member for, I think, about 24 years now. Joined in about 99. So around that period, it was pretty bleak.
Yeah.
So I guess my earliest memory is closing my eyes and kind of burying myself, in mum's lap and just saying, "Wake me up when this is over," because we'd get pumped pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And things turned around a lot from there. Eddie came on board, Mick Malthouse came on board, and we played in a couple of grand finals. 2002, 2003, which I was lucky enough to go to, and they were pretty great games. Didn't win, unfortunately, and it was tragic. And that was, the real beginning of being a Pies fan, and I guess experiencing what it's like to always be up against it, but somehow push through and keep going.
Yeah. So look, like I said at the start, we went to high school together. So 2010 was when we were in year 12. So we got to experience. I remember one time, right after we wore our jerseys underneath our blazers. After we won for a week, yeah, that was that was a little bit of fun, and obviously 2011 and 2010 you went to both grand finals, didn't you?
Yeah, and it's really interesting because I was reflecting on this today. So yeah, we went again, lucky enough to go to both grand finals. And I remember the feeling. I mean, we came out in the first quarter, did very well, and then in Collingwood fashion, we kind of started to slow. And the next three quarters, I don't think we won the next three quarters.
Yep.
And I was just thinking, not again. But the siren went. It was a weird feeling. Everyone was kind of talking amongst themselves, and there was this Collingwood supporter sitting across from us, and he turned around. I was talking to my mum. Me and my mum and my sister are just, all over the place.
Yeah.
And he was like, "This is fantastic." And we're like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "This is great. I can bring my mum next week, and we're going to pump them." And we did.
Yeah.
And so it was, in a moment that otherwise was stressful and full of anxiety and despair and all this sort of stuff, here this guy was just seeing the positive side of it. And I kind of try to think a lot like that now, and I think being away from social media really helps.
Yeah, so look, let's delve into some of that, the social media. I guess the psyche of that guy with, don't worry, we'll get him next time and stuff, after being seeing such bleakness in that drawn grand final. So the Pies flying for most of the season. These last maybe 6 weeks we've been not down in the dumps. Well, maybe these last 2 weeks, obviously that Carlton game and that Hawthorn game, we're still 2 games clear on top of the ladder. How do you see it without this external noise that most of us Collingwood supporters are experiencing at the moment?
Well, we're 18-4 or something. That's how I see it. These last couple of years, these last 2 seasons have just been awesome. Like, it's been so much fun, and that's what's been missing for a little while. I mean, we've got it pretty good as Collingwood supporters. We're a big club. We have big games. We always have a lot of attention on us. But there was a period of a few years where it wasn't so great for us, relatively speaking. But these last 2 seasons have just been so refreshing. And so, you know, if we spoke at the start of the season and said, right, it's going to be round 22 or whatever it is now, and we're 18-4, we'd both be like, we'll take that.
Yeah.
Any day of the week. So that's the bigger picture. That's how I see it. The last 2 weeks, yeah, it's been disappointing because we've lost. But, you know, you still got to keep an eye on the bigger picture, and it's an exciting time. We're heading towards finals. This is why we support the club. This is, you know, why we follow football. This game on Friday, it'll be a finals-like atmosphere. It's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully we can bounce back.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. The whole prospect of being able to sort of bounce back, and it's not like it's like you said, it's not finals yet. It's not like we've just gone out in straight sets and we have to wait another 6 months. We get to back it up, back it up next week or this week on Friday. And one of the other reasons why I wanted to get you on is throughout our journey as Collingwood supporters and as mates as well, you've really been the yin to my yang, because I would say something just like XYZ, and you'd be like, no, what about ABC? Because when I'm doing my reviews and my previews to the games, and it's my thoughts. I'm not bouncing off sort of anybody, and if I go down one path, I can't lead myself down another path. You know what I mean? So I think in my most recent video, I was talking about how it could be training loads. It could be the guys not really 2 games clear on top and a bunch of percentage, still have the best percentage in the league. It could be just that mindset of not expecting to lose, but expecting to win. And we've seen that through sort of Pies teams. How do you kind of see that? Do you think that it's just been such a monumental shift from the start of the season? What do you think it's not just one thing, but what do you kind of think it comes down to?
Yeah, and I mean, it does. I mean, taking nothing away from Carlton and Hawthorn, I mean, they were the better teams
100%.
In both those games. But yeah, I mean, it seems like we're off our game a bit. But I mean, that happens. That can happen. And we don't want it to happen right at the end of the season, but we're not right at the end of the season yet. We still got another 3 weeks. Yeah, so I don't know. I saw Fly's press conference today, and he mentioned training loads as well, and that's something that you mentioned earlier in the week. So whether it is that, but I mean, again, it's just it could just be nothing. It could just be bad form. I mean, it's like when you go to work and you have a bad day, or you go for a run and you have a bad run, or a bad day at the gym. Like in any sport, it just happens. And the idea is you train that out and you want to be better. And you hope that habits don't creep in. But, all season we've been incredibly clean. We've been incredibly accurate. And those 2 things are among our greatest strengths. And, the Carlton game and the Hawthorn game, we didn't have that. So once we refine that, it's just, we've got a system. We've got a group of players who know how to play that system. So in my opinion, it's just a matter of recapturing that form. Like, we are where we are for a reason. Yeah. It doesn't mean that we're going to win the flag. Whatever happens, in the next up to 5 games will happen. And, we can talk about that when it does. But looking back on the body of work that's already been done and what's happened over the last 2 seasons, like, we're heading in the right direction. And it's, it is a great time to be a Collingwood supporter. And, I remember, I think it was the final against Geelong at the qualifying final against Geelong last year. Like, the siren went, and I just sat there and I was like, that's one of the best games I've seen us play. Yeah. And we lost by 6 points. And I think that was the game where the players were kind of on the ground and on their haunches afterwards. And Fly says, we're lost, but we're not losers. And I think we can kind of buy into that a little bit as well as supporters, and just in general with the whole club. Like, all right, we lost against Hawthorn, lost against Carlton, but we're not losers. That's not the direction we're heading. And that's the message that Fly wants for the players. And I think as supporters, we can definitely buy into that.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. That qualifying final was incredible. And like you said, we get to back that up again in it's going to be another epic game against Geelong on Friday. They're wanting to make the 8 because at the moment they're just teetering around 8 or 9th or whatever they are. And we're obviously wanting to back it up. And that doesn't mean that, we're going to win or we're going to lose, but that sort of fight and that sort of spark is there from the Pies. It just has to sort of click on. Look, earlier in the week, I messaged you and I'm like, all this chatter about us being premiership favourites, and we haven't had that. Like, we haven't been top of the ladder for this consecutively since maybe 2011. And I remember messaging you and I was like, do you remember anything of 2010, 2011? And we don't. Like, it's only like 13 years ago, whatever it is, but I don't remember the lead up. I don't remember ever being premiership favourites. Even in 2018, we weren't premiership favourites. Like, in 2018, leading up to that sort of grand final, going into the end of the season, do you remember much of it?
Yeah, I mean, 2018, I remember more.
Yeah.
And we came from nowhere that season.
Yeah.
And it was a bloody good season. And, the first final, we went to Perth and we took it up to West Coast. That was a cracking game. And then came here and beat GWS. And then then it was the Richmond prelim, which is one of the best games that, I've ever been to. And the atmosphere afterwards, everyone was so happy, cheering in the stands, which is actually something I remember from 2010. After every game, there was just this atmosphere of like people singing in the stands after the game, like as they're walking out. And there was that again in the Richmond prelim. I mean, I think in general, prelim wins are just always the most fun.
Yeah.
Because we've had more of those than grand finals, maybe. But then it was like, we're in another grand final. And like this weight of expectation kind of fell on me as a supporter. It's like, well, what if we lose? Then everyone's going to pay us out for losing another granny.
Yeah.
And I remember being at the game, and of course we had a great start, and it was just like, no, I'm just going to enjoy this for what it is. We're playing well. I'm not going to think of the what ifs. And then, the rest happened, and I think looking back on it now, I can just appreciate that was just a really fun season, and it had so many great moments. And only one team can win a flag each season, and luckily enough, we're in a great position to do that this season. But you follow a team for the moments throughout the season, and you get so much out of each moment. Like last season we didn't win the flag. Does that mean it was a failure? Of course not. Does that mean it wasn't fun to follow? Of course not. One of my favorite games from last year was the all duck no dinner game against Melbourne, and I just remember like the chaos when the siren went and turning around, and there are fans like just getting stuck into the Melbourne team because we beat them, and get stuff. And that's what it's all about. And again, luckily now we're in this position where, okay, there is more expectation, but the players in the club, it's a professional club, and they know how to deal with that. And it's just going to be a lot of fun to follow. And, hopefully we can go as far as possible. And if we win, well, you're not going to see us for a week. We'll keep celebrating.
Be wearing our jumpers underneath our blazers again to work, I reckon. But look, you talk about the next couple of weeks, and obviously it all starts with Geelong, Brisbane, and Essendon. One of those wins guarantees us a top 2 spot. At the moment, it's looking pretty likely that we at least get with top 4 is a definite. So we've got the double chance where we end up. We have to do it without Nick Daicos though, and it's hard because this kid's played 44 games. He's 20 years old, and he's already not only the best player in the team, obviously one of the best players in the league. But what do you think? We can sort of cover. You're not going to turn one of the other players into a Nick Daicos. That's just not going to happen. How do you think we sort of operate? Do you think it's a sort of this? It's a negative, but can we spin it into a sort of positive?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's already been a positive story. I mean, he was playing on halfback for however long, and then comes into the midfield, and who steps up at half-back? We got Oleg Markov.
Yeah.
So there is that opportunity, and yeah, no doubt it's going to happen. And it's a huge blow, and obviously we need to win, ideally 2 of the next 3 games, or just win them all. So, it puts us on the back foot, but we're used to that, and I think we'll be able to bounce back, and someone will step up, and the team, it'll galvanise the team. Like, there's so much focus on Nick Daicos, but as a team throughout the season, we've performed so well, and I think all this attention and what happened after last week, it'll galvanise the team. I hope it will, and whoever gets the opportunity to step up, however they rotate the squad and sort that out, I think it's a great opportunity, and it's just going to be a really exciting game to follow.
No, 100%.
And the next few weeks, and then he comes back, for finals. So
exactly. Like, I think with having the second chance sewn up, he's pretty much guaranteed second week, whether that's let's just say we lose the first final, he comes back the week after, or better yet, win that first bloody final and he comes back in a prelim. Like, I think, there's a lot of, and Eddie Maguire said this best, I think it was yesterday. When we're heightened, when we're going good, the media's all over us. We were $2.70. 3 weeks ago, we were the team to beat. Everyone was second to us, right? And now, as soon as you lose a couple of games, media is straight off you, even though we're still on top of the ladder.
So, you can't win because, if you win all these games and you build your season, then you're July premiers. Okay, well, what do we do? Not win them? Not be in the best position possible, when it comes to business time? Of course not. And that was actually one thing I saw, because I was at the game and I was getting all these messages, and I was unsure what happened to Nick Daicos, and I think I was messaging you as well.
Yep.
And so I'm actually trying to see what Twitter is saying, and it was just all these opposition supporters talking about the Collingwood dynasty of July or whatever, and I'm just like, you can't win. And the media, of course, this week, Kane Corns and all those shows are talking about it. But that's just how it is. And, it turns quickly. But if we win this week and then we get a win against Brisbane, it's just going to turn just as quick.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And that's why I sort of wanted to have a chat, because, I have to sort of report, for lack of a better term, and sort of post about everything that's sort of going on and stuff like that. And like I was saying, like Eddie came out and said, like, when it's heightened, it's heightened. When it's down, it's down. What we can't do as Collingwood supporters is sort of get into our own heads and be like, oh, woe is us, we've lost 2 in a row, we're still on top of the ladder, we've still got 3 games. And look, we don't know how this season is going to finish, right? We've still got 3 games to start, to go in, to lead into finals, and we're not going. There's no way we're going to put up what we did against Hawthorn, against a Geelong and a Brisbane, even in Essendon, right? So we know definitely that something is going to change. McRae came out today, like you saw in the presser. He said that we were the hunted, and now we want to hunt now. Because if you're not the hunter, you're the hunted. So, just you can kind of see it turning a little bit. But, for the next few weeks, what are your sort of, besides wins, what are your sort of key indicators, do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Thank you.
They've all been good questions. I think we played our best when we weren't conceding so much, even if winning aside. So the defence was tight. You got more intercept marking, and as opposed to maybe playing one-on-one, and just the forward line firing.
Yep.
And then that, I guess, assumes that there's good connection through the middle as well. But so tight defence. And the forwards up and about again. I want to see Checkers and McStay really hit it off, because I don't think they've had a lot of opportunity together. So, once that clicks, I think, it's only going to be good for us. I think they'll be the main things I'm looking out for. But, how good we get to have a crack against quality opposition like Geelong and Brisbane, and what a great test before finals. And I think in 2010 we had a really hard fixture by memory. And I mean, you don't want to play easy teams and just get in and whatever happens, happens. Like, so we have that opportunity to test ourselves against good teams. So, yeah, those are the things I'll be looking for, and hopefully we get up.
Yeah, well, it's going to be absolutely exciting. Look, before I leave you, because I know this is a bit of contention between us, do you think Ginnivan comes back into the side soon? Because I know whenever he gets one disposal, you always message me. So he's been doing pretty well at VFL level. They're playing him as a sort of high half forward, so they're adding more strings to his bow.
Yeah.
Do you think that because he might not get 15 disposals and 3 goals every single game, but this guy just gets the crowd going, and you were there for the last couple of games. It was nothing in the crowd from we're the Collingwood Army, we're loud and we're proud, and the Hawthorn game was just dull, which is fair enough because Hawthorn are winning. What can you do? But this guy just adds, whenever he gets a ball, he just adds excitement, adds that sort of spark. Is that what we're not Ginnivan especially, but do you think that that's something that we are definitely sort of missing at the moment?
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, Hawthorn really sucked it out of the game. Like they were just over possessing the ball, playing really slow, and we had that zone, and we just couldn't touch the ball. And yeah, it took the sting out of the crowd for sure. Yeah, bring him in. Why not? Why not? I mean, he's obviously quality. And then if he is playing, I want to see him really attack it and just hit every contest and then do those special things. And I think Bobby Hill has just been fantastic this season. And hopefully the two can make each other better. I don't think we should play both of them in the one game, but having both, hopefully they make each other better through competition, and we just get the best team out there. And if Ginnivan comes in, I hope he does really well. I hope he kicks 10 goals.
I know you do. All right, look, man, before I leave you, your prediction for the game against Geelong.
Yeah, we win. Nice 5 goals. I don't know who comes in this week though. So I guess
Nick and Steele are definitely out of the question.
Yeah. I saw McRae was an assess, but maybe they bring in Hoskin Elliott.
Yeah, play that wing role
over a young kid. But that's another thing. I'm excited to see McRae play at some point, and I don't know how much of a shot he's going to get for the rest of this season. But if there's the opportunity for him to come in, hopefully he can take that. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I think we'll get up by 5 or so goals. We'll be too strong, too quick for the Cats, too good, and then travel away to Marvel the next week to play Brisbane.
Fine, man. Justin, thank you so much. I've been meaning to get you on for 4.5 years, so I finally did, which is amazing.
I'll be back soon if the ratings go well.
No, done, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you on Friday.
Good on you, mate. We'll chat soon.
Thanks, brother. Cheers, mate. Bye.
Bye.